Hello everybody, welcome to my channel Homeopathy Super Sessions by Dr. Jarvis. Today we'll be doing the second part of Carroll Dunham's first chapter, Homeopathy, the Science of Therapeutics. So Homeopathy, the Science of Therapeutics by Carroll Dunham, we continue the second part. So now Carroll Dunham says, let us see something about, does homeopathy fulfill the conditions of a science of therapeutics? Homeopathy is a science which consists of a law or formula which expresses the relation between the two series of phenomena. So therefore he says that the law of homeopathy or the formula of homeopathy out here, it has to be taken into consideration by two series of phenomena. So two series of phenomena are there, which is in the law or the formula of homeopathy. It consists of a given case of disease on one hand and those of a given drug prover on the other hand. So what are those 2 points? The first point is that it consists of the case of the disease. So whatever disease the patient is suffering from, that is before you. And the second point, it is on the drug proving on the other hand, or the tools used to combat the diseases, that is the homeopathic drugs which are dynamized and which have a scientific basis because they are proved on healthy human beings. So on one hand, we have the case of the disease, and second hand, we have the drug proving on the other. It is only when the connected by the law of similarities that they can constitute science of therapeutics. So when the case of disease is connected with the drug proving or the medicines used to combat the diseases, then only we can say it constitutes the science of therapeutics. The application of the law is based upon a hypothesis. It is expressed by the law similia similibus current. So this hypothesis is there, and it was proved to be correct that the only way of mitigating the disease is through similars and not through dissimilars. So therefore, the law of similars, similibus current. By the application of the law towards the science of therapeutics, many lives were saved, and it also served as a prophylaxis. So by the correct application of the law of similars, that is by the application of inductive as well as deductive logic, the science of therapeutics was increased in nature, and many lives were saved. And not only that, but it also served as a prophylactic. So please remember, the law of similars is both based on inductive as well as deductive logic. Some people have the opinion that it's only based on inductive, it is not based on deductive, but it is based on both, because in our Organon textbook under aphorism number around 19 to 26, it tells you about the logical derivation of the law of similars through deductive logic. So it is both, please remember, the law of similars is derived both through inductive as well as deductive logic. So now let us see something about how to study the science of therapeutics. It consists of studying the two series of phenomena together with the law of relation, which constitute the science of therapeutics. So these two phenomena which we had seen previously, it consists of studying these two phenomena along with the science of therapeutics. Thus, when a case comes to a physician, he must ascertain what branch of medical science it falls into. So when a case comes to a physician for the first time, the physician should decipher whether it falls under the purview of homeopathy or allopathy or surgery or whatever branch it may be. Then he has to ascertain if it requires therapeutic or hygienic management or both. So then the second part is that he has to ascertain whether it requires the medicine or the therapeutic part or only hygienic part or both of them. He also has to see if it falls under the scope of homeopathy or its limitation. This is very important. He also has to see if the case is under the purview of homeopathy, or does it fall under the homeopathic scope, or does it have its limitations. For this, he has to make the diagnosis of disease and also should know about the prognosis of the disease. So for this, both the diagnosis of disease as well as prognosis of disease is important for the same. In other words, a knowledge of physiology and pathology is essential, which forms the very threshold of medical practice. Thus, this is essentially before any question of therapeutics has arisen. Thus, if a case falls under the domain of homeopathy, the same case must be studied as per their individuality. So therefore, he says that once the physician has decided that this case falls under homeopathy. So therefore, then he has to study it in great detail. That is, he must individualize the case. In order to get the complete picture of the morbid symptoms, the physician must be familiar of what is normal and what is abnormal. So he must know the normal working of the body, that is the normal physiological processes of our body, that is digestion, respiration, elimination, secretion, excretion. All these are the physiological processes, and whatever abnormal pathology is also there. So until he knows what is normal, he will not know what is abnormal. So therefore, the study of all these branches is very, very essential. Through pathology, he learns to know about the disease, but through therapeutics alone, he can cure it. So by knowing the pathology, he will come to know what is the disease, whether it can be curable or not, what is its complications, what are its sequelae, what actually happens, and so on and so forth. But he can only cure it by the means of therapeutics. So now let us something about the study of materia medica. In homeopathy, in accordance to the law, we select a remedy most similar to the symptoms of the case. That you all know. So Carroll Dunham also said the same, that in accordance with the law, we must take a most similar remedy according to the symptoms of the case. For this, we must know the pure effect of drugs on healthy human beings. So how are we supposed to know them? Naturally, through the process of drug proving or the pure effect of drugs on healthy human beings. This helps us to study the symptoms produced by particular drugs, which in turn individualize the case. So while drug proving, we have got a number of symptoms. The common division is the common symptoms and the characteristic symptoms. So therefore, he says, if you study the characteristic symptoms of a particular drug, that will help you to individualize the case. By characteristic symptoms, we mean one which is possessed by none other than the individual drug, and in turn gives the character as an individual. It must never be forgotten that without the characteristics, there can be no individualization. So it reminds you that if there are no characteristic symptoms, there is no individualization. So basically, individualization is the essence of homeopathy through the medium of characteristic, uncommon, rare, peculiar symptoms. That's number 154. Thus, without this, there can be no accurate homeopathic prescription. So naturally, without characteristic symptoms, you cannot form the totality and you cannot mitigate the disease, or you cannot individualize the person. In the Hahnemannian method of drug proving, the symptoms were arranged in the anatomical schema. So as you all know, when Hahnemann proved the drug, all the symptoms were written down as and when they arranged, or as and when they came. And later on, Hahnemann followed the anatomical schema, that is from the head to toe. The Materia Medica Pura contained the proving of drugs done by Dr. Hahnemann. So the Materia Medica Pura was there, in which the pure effects of the drug which were seen were recorded. So that is why it is known as the Pura. Pura meaning pure, Materia Medica Pura. General analysis of proving a drug must be done by taking the following points into consideration. So Carroll Dunham says that the analysis of drug proving must be done by taking the points into. The first point is what? Sphere of action of the drug. The extent to which organic substance is affected and the action of drug on the vital part. So the first point, let us see the elaboration by Carroll Dunham, sphere of action of drug. Here it will be seen that every drug affects some organ or system or organ or tissues more decidedly than others. So naturally, every drug will have a specific action on a specific part, location, system, or organ of the body. For example, pulsatilla acts predominantly on the reproductive organs and on blood producing anemia. On the other hand, it exerts little action upon the bones, skin, glands, and this will be another important step towards grouping. So we have to see the main sphere of action on what system or what location or on what organ it predominantly acts on, and also besides that, what else can it act on, but to a lesser extent. This is the example of pulsatilla which he has given. Second point, to the extent to which the organic substance is affected. For some proving examples in Spigelia, the organic substance is slightly affected or only in isolated localities, while in other provings the effect is profound and the general carbo-vegetabilis and lactases. So therefore he says that in the provings, you may find that some drugs have affinity for isolated localities, whereas some drugs have a profound action on a particular organ or particular substance, or rather organ or a particular system. The action of a drug on the vital power, as seen in symptoms of the nervous system, the symptoms are distributed under various parts of the nervous system, with sensorium, general sensibility, general modality, special sensibility, and sympathetic system. Thus informing a proper conclusion to any one of these points, regard must be had to the entire remaining action of the drug. Otherwise, we may reach a false judgment. Having thus made a general analysis of the proving, we must obtain the general view of the action of the drug on pathological condition it produces, and also a general view on its characteristics of its action. So therefore, he says that once you made the general analysis, then you also have to see what pathological conditions the drug covers up and what are its characteristics, symptoms, or symptoms which are characteristics in nature. So also Carroll Dunham says for this, the repertory also will be of use. The points to consider in each region and under each rubric as follows: the organic changes, the sensation, the nature, locality, and direction, the condition of time, place, and circumstance, including the concomitant. So when you use the repertory, you have to see the organic changes, the sensations, and the condition of time, place, and circumstance, including the concomitant, that is the modalities. Now, study for the Materia Medica. It has been drawn from the author's own guidance. It helped the author in a great way. It has helped for persons who want to study Materia Medica in a serious manner. So Carroll Dunham has made a way how to study Materia Medica, and this only meant for those persons who are very serious and dedicated to homeopathy. So the author gives 7 points to study in Materia Medica. That is, number 1, under general analysis, he gives action on the vital prover. First point is action on the vital prover, which includes the sensorium, the special senses, the sphincters, the other involuntary muscles, and the power of locomotion. Second, action on the organic substance. So that includes the complexions, the state of vessels and the nature of the content, the evacuations, ulcers if any, which were previously modified or produced by the remedy, eruptions, general affection of a discretic nature like dropsy, tuberculosis, etc. Third point, the sphere of action of the remedy, what organ or system of the body is affected in the general way and in what order they were affected. And the fourth, sensations, what type of sensations predominate as ascribed to the remedy in the proving, what relation it has, if any, which appears to exist between certain variety of sensation and certain classes of organs or tissues. Fifth, periodicity. If any of the symptoms, it is to be particularly noted and its character. Sixth, peculiarities. These constitute the conditions of time, circumstances, aggravation, and concomitants, which are attached to the symptom, which give their individual character to them. And seventh, resume of the characteristics of remedy. This will include everything in the above analysis. It will comprise in particular the condition of time, circumstances of aggravation, concomitants, and periods of the day at which the action of the drug is most marked. So this we have seen about the general analysis. Now about the special analysis. Here the author gives an anatomical schema from head to foot with various subheadings. So on the anatomical schema right from head to toe, Carroll Dunham has given many examples. So one example which I'm giving here is the example of the head. So out there, under sensorium, we have vertigo, intelligence, memory, illusions. Under headache, we have location of pain, sensation, condition of time, circumstances, aggravation and amelioration and concomitant, and organic changes which affect the metal substance and tissue of the head and comprises all deviations from a normal material condition, example, glands, vessels, organ of the special senses, skin, etc. Likewise, the author has given in detail other parts of the body. So you can just refer the book. Many examples have been given. So I've just given you one example to demonstrate the same. So you can refer the book from page number 55 to 62, wherein many examples have been given. So that's all for today and for this chapter. So I've concluded this chapter into 2 parts, and I made it as simple as possible for you all to understand. So I hope you all like this video of mine. If so, please give it a thumbs up and please give your valuable comments, which will help me to improve and to make my subsequent videos in a much better fashion. If you think you haven't understood the topic very well, you can ask me a question, or if you want any other topic to be done by me, please do tell me and it will take at least 1 to 1.5 months for me to satisfy your request, because I've got n number of videos in line which I'm doing at present. Thank you very much. So please do subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and please do promote my channel by asking other people also to subscribe for different homeopathy colleges. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.